This video is going to introduce the improvements to our QRH program. We will review the formatting changes, clarity, and improved functionality. We will then show how all of these improvements will be applied in an actual ECAM scenario. Let's start off by reviewing management of abnormal operations and how it relates to the QRH program. Management of abnormal operations starts with memory items. As such, this memory items card, which contains all requisite memory items, are located in the front of the QRH, with a tab at the top for ease of reference. After this, crews will apply OEBs as applicable to any failures. This section of the QRH is now located directly after the memory items card. This is to match management of abnormal operations, but also provides quicker access to review OEBs prior to every flight as required by SOP. After this, the crew will apply ECAM actions. Since this video is not focused on ECAM actions, we will skip this and continue with the management of abnormal operations as it pertains to the QRH. Now that ECAM actions are complete, the pilot monitoring will reference the QRH procedures section of the QRH to determine if any non-ECAM related procedure applies to the failure. This section contains some specific procedures which are not displayed on the ECAM. As a general rule, the procedures displayed on the ECAM are not provided in this section. As such, it is imperative the crew references any applicable procedures to ensure all implications of the failure are understood. It is best, after ECAM actions have been accomplished, to reference the table of contents to identify what procedures may apply. When referencing this section, you will notice the procedures are organized by system, meaning all procedures are grouped in subsections that can be system-related. For example, engine, flight control, fuel, hydraulic, landing gear, or non-system related. For example, miscellaneous. This provides an intuitive way to quickly reference any necessary procedures. The next section is the Abnormal Emergency Procedures section. This part of the QRH describes the detailed content of all abnormal and emergency procedures. All procedures are grouped in subsections that can be system-related. For example, brakes, nose wheel steering, cabin pressure, or non-system related. For example, circuit breaker or miscellaneous. The subsections are sorted by alphabetical order. For each subsection, procedures are listed in the following order. Memory items. The title of the memory item starts with the MEM prefix. QRH procedures of the QRH. The title of these procedures starts with the QRH prefix. ECAM procedures. These procedures correlate directly to procedures displayed on the ECAM. If time permits, the crew will review applicable failures in the Abnormal Emergencies section for additional information. However, the flight crew should not delay the landing to refer to this section, as all critical must-know information was provided through the previous steps: memory items, OEBs, ECAM actions, and QRH procedures. Let's take a moment to describe the benefits of the improved Abnormal Emergency Procedures section of the QRH. For this, we will look at the cabin pressure System 1+2 fault. As you can see, the amber title displayed on the ECAM matches the amber title in the abnormal section. The blue to-do items are also in line with what is displayed on ECAM. Let's discuss the real reason we reference the Abnormal Emergency Procedures section. Remember, the primary reason we reference this section is to gain additional information that was not provided in the ECAM or the QRH procedures section. The presentation of the procedure is, as far as practicable, identical to the way it is displayed on the ECAM. The abbreviations are identical to those used on the cockpit panels. All actions and information displayed on ECAM are provided in large letters. This information is known as Layer 1 information, as identified by the L1 next to the text. Layer 1 information is considered need to know and presents information that is necessary in the cockpit. Other information not on ECAM is provided in small letters. This is what Airbus identifies as Layer 2 information, as indicated by the L2 next to the text. Layer 2 information is considered nice to know. This presents information that is used as reference in order to fully understand the logic of the aircraft, implications to the failure, and pilot interfaces. This includes identifying the particular failure, explains actions for which the reason is not self-evident, provides some background on the reason and/or effects of a given action. In the status page, you can see there is Layer 1 and Layer 2 information displayed. This is noted by the L1-2. Another improvement is at the beginning of the procedure. This is the triggering conditions. This table provides the reasoning behind why the ECAM was triggered, providing a better understanding to the implications of the failure, allowing the crew better situational awareness and decision making. The next section is the in-flight performance section. This contains all in-flight performance tables and calculations needed by the flight crew. Both normal and abnormal data is contained here and can be referenced when necessary. The last section of the QRH is the operational data section. This section contains additional information available to the flight crew about the aircraft. While each aircraft is equipped with 2 paper QRHs, we'd like to take a moment to describe the benefits of the digital QRH. When using the digital QRH, you will find it's easiest to reference procedures directly off of the Outline tab at the very top, which represents an open book. We can start off by referencing the Memory Items tab as discussed earlier. When selecting this, it pulls up the Memory Items section. Any Refer To is hyperlinked as identified by the box around the Refer To line. Selecting this will pull us directly to the Memory Items section as applicable. The next section to select is the OEB Operations Engineering Bulletins. Pressing this will bring us to the Table of Contents. This table of contents will display all applicable OEBs affecting this aircraft. Selecting whichever OEB you are looking for will pull up that applicable OEB. Another way to reference procedures in the OEB section is to select the caret next to the OEB Operations Engineering Bulletin. The next section, following the Management of Abnormal Operations, is the QRH Procedures. To reference the QRH Procedures, once again selecting the Outline or Open Book icon, select QRH Procedures. This will bring us to the Table of Contents. At that point, you can find the system that you are trying to reference. In this example, we'd be looking under Fuel for gravity fuel feeding. Once finding the failure applicable to us, we would select gravity fuel feeding, which would bring us to the applicable failure. Another way to reference this information is by selecting the Outline again, once again the Open Book icon, opening the caret next to QRH Procedures. This will bring up the next layer, which is the Systems, opening the caret next to the system failure you are looking for, and selecting Gravity Fuel Feeding, once again bringing up the next procedure you're looking for. Let's now discuss how to easily reference the abnormal emergency procedures. We first select the Outline or Open Book tab at the top again. We can select the Abnormal Emergency Procedures section, which will bring us to the Table of Contents, at which point we can scroll over to find the applicable failure. In this example, we will use the electrical AC bus 2 fault. We select the ELEC AC bus 2 fault, and it will bring us directly to that failure. For another example, let's select the outline at the top again, open the caret next to abnormal and emergency procedures, select another failure. For this example, we'll use the hydraulic, open the caret next to hydraulic, and select hydraulic yellow reservoir low level. Selecting the hydraulic yellow reservoir low level will once again bring us to the applicable procedure we were looking for. The in-flight performance section of the digital QRH operates in the same functionality. Selecting the caret under the outline will open up all applicable sections of the in-flight performance. Selecting the in-flight performance line will bring you to the table of contents for the in-flight performance section. Operational data operates in the same functionality. Opening the caret next to the operational data once again will display all sections of the operational data section. Selecting operational data line will bring you to the table of contents of the operational data. Now that we have reviewed the new QRH program and introduced the benefits of the digital QRH, let's provide a couple of examples of how the new QRH program is applied in abnormal operations. For the first example, we will use the hydraulic yellow reservoir overheat. When the crew receives the ECAM for hydraulic yellow reservoir overheat, the crew will follow the task management policies of the abnormal operations. First step is memory items. The crew will consider any memory items. In this case, there are no memory items associated with hydraulic yellow reservoir overheat. At this point, the crew will move on to the OEBs. The crews will consider any OEBs applicable to this failure. In this case, no OEBs apply to the hydraulic yellow reservoir overheat. Once all OEBs have been accomplished, the crew will then start running the ECAM actions. Following the management of abnormal operations and task management sharing, the pilot flying will command ECAM actions when appropriate. At that time, the pilot monitoring will accomplish ECAM actions. When the ECAM actions are complete, the pilot monitoring will then accomplish any applicable QRH procedures found in the QRH procedures section of the QRH. The pilot monitoring will reference the affected systems within the QRH procedures to see if any non-ECAM procedures apply. In this case, there are no QRH procedures associated with the hydraulic yellow reservoir overheat. Once any applicable QRH procedures have been accomplished, the pilot monitoring will then reference the abnormal and emergency procedures. In this case, opening the caret next to the abnormal and emergency procedures, selecting the failured system, which is hydraulic, opening the caret next to hydraulic, and then finding the failure that was displayed on the ECAM. And in this example, the hydraulic yellow reservoir overheat. Selecting hydraulic yellow reservoir overheat will bring us to the procedure. When referencing the procedure, we will concentrate on the Layer 2 information, providing additional information for situational awareness and increased decision making. When going to the status page of this procedure, we notice that there is a refer to the fuel penalty factors. This is due to the failure affecting the nominal aerodynamic characteristics of the aircraft. As you can see, the refer to is hyperlinked via the box that is indicated around the refer to line. Selecting this refer to fuel penalty factors in the operational data section will bring us directly to the fuel penalty factors residing in the operational data section of the QRH. It is important to note that while the original ECAM was yellow reservoir overheat, after ECAM actions are complete, the primary failure is the yellow system low pressure. Because of this, the pilot monitoring will reference the yellow system low pressure fuel penalty factor and calculate fuel penalty factors at 20%. During the ECAM actions, in the status page, there was a blue to-do item, landing distance procedures apply. It is important to note there is some technique to this. The pilot flying can command at this point to stop ECAM and have the pilot monitoring calculate landing distance procedures. Or this can be delayed till a more appropriate phase of flight. Whenever this is the appropriate time, the pilot monitoring will then calculate landing distance procedures by referencing the in-flight performance section of the QRH. Using the digital QRH, the pilot monitoring will select the outline, select in-flight performance, opening the caret next to in-flight performance, selecting the caret next to landing performance assessment, and can then accomplish the landing performance calculations as necessary. The next procedure we would like to demonstrate with the new QRH program is an Engine 2 fire. If an Engine 2 fire ECAM was received, the crew would follow the management of abnormal operations by first applying memory items. In this case, there are no memory items associated with the Engine 2 fire. After that, the crew will apply any applicable OEBs. Again, there are no OEBs that apply to the Engine 2 fire. After this is accomplished, the crew will follow the management of abnormal operations and apply ECAM actions. Once the engine fire is extinguished, this ECAM turns to an Engine 2 shutdown. Once ECAM actions are complete, the pilot monitoring will reference the QRH procedures section of the QRH. By referencing the outline in the digital QRH, opening the caret next to QRH procedures will display all applicable subsections of the QRH procedures. Because Engine 2 is underlined, the pilot monitoring will open the caret next to Engine, displaying all applicable procedures under the Engine subsection. Because this crew is planning an ILS approach with one engine inoperative, the procedure one engine inoperative straight-in approach applies. The pilot monitoring will select it to display the one engine inoperative straight-in approach procedure. Once this procedure is understood, the pilot monitoring will then reference the abnormal and emergency procedures section. Once again, in the outline, opening the caret next to the abnormal and emergency procedures. This will display all applicable subsections. Once again, because Engine 2 is underlined, the pilot monitoring will select Engine. It is important to note that since the fire has been extinguished, the remaining ECAM is an Engine 2 shutdown, which will be referenced in the abnormal emergency procedures section. If the crew references the initial ECAM, which was an Engine 2 fire, it will still lead to the Engine 1 or 2 shutdown. The pilot monitoring will select the Engine 1 or 2 shutdown to display the procedure in its entirety. The pilot monitoring will review this procedure. It is important to remember that the primary reason to reference this is the Layer 2 information. This will increase situational awareness, resulting in better decision making. This concludes our demonstration of the new QRH program as it applies to management of abnormal operations.